Tales unknown.
The following is a true story based on actual events, submitted by one of our viewers. Some names have been changed to protect their privacy.
I've never been someone who ever had to deal in the paranormal. I think I had the same basic level of curiosity as anybody else. But what happened on July 7, 2013, just outside Michigan City, Indiana changed that forever. It was a warm July day, plenty of sun, very few clouds in the sky. It started out as a perfectly normal work day. Every Sunday, it would just be me and one other person. I'd never worked there alone before this. I pulled into the parking lot. I walked around and disabled the alarms on the outside of the building. One for each exterior door. 3 separate alarms, any one of them would have notified the owners if anyone else had been there before me. I walked around to the front of the building and unlocked the front door. It was so quiet that the sound of the mechanical lock clicking into place was deafening. I walked into the dark hallway where the time clock was. I flipped on the light. The fluorescent lights flickered and hummed louder than I had ever heard. The door at the end of the hallway had a window that looked out into the dark warehouse. The warehouse was a dark void, a void without edges. I clocked in and started my long walk through the offices. I had to walk down a long, dark hallway and flip on each office light one at a time. Then when I got to the end of the hallway, I had to walk out into the warehouse. The warehouse was the darkest part when you first got there, even in the middle of the afternoon. I had never been there alone and I had never seen it so dark. It was cloaked in a dark silence, just standing there, and you would never know where you were if you didn't know it was the warehouse. I turned on the lights and I had never seen this place so absent of life. On a weekday, it was loud and bustling with people picking stock and packing it in boxes and the guys on the packing line yelling obnoxious things. I walked to the back. Oh, the back. The back of the warehouse was used to be a machine shop, but the company had acquired it for more storage space. For this part of the warehouse, you had to walk about 200, maybe 300 feet in the absolute darkness to get to the switch panel all the way in the back of the overstock warehouse. I was not a fan of doing this. It was a completely silent and dark void of space. I turned on the lights for the back and the whole warehouse was now lit. And I waited for Rick to get there. That Sunday, I was supposed to work with a guy named Rick. What I didn't know was that Rick had a reputation for calling off whenever his favorite football team was playing. When I pulled into the lot that morning, my car was the only one there, not just in front of the warehouse, but in the entire office compound. Before I could even step inside, I had to disarm 3 separate alarms, so needless to say, if anyone had been in there before me, I would have known immediately. Still, the place already had a reputation. Other workers had told stories, footsteps echoing across empty floors, boxes falling over on their own, toilets flushing and hand dryers clicking on by themselves. One guy, Austin, swore he'd been whistled at the Thursday before this happened. Not just any whistle, but a wolf whistle, the kind you'd hear when someone's trying to get your attention. One story stuck with me for a while. The break room door. According to Austin, certain mornings at 6 a.m., it would slowly open by itself, hang there for a few seconds, and then slam shut. I always told him that was impossible. The door was a hollow core one, painted gray, no doorknob, with a plexiglass window and a heavy spring that snapped it shut if you let go of it. There was no way it could move on its own. Or so I thought. That Sunday, I waited around for Rick to show, but he never did. So, I decided to take it easy. I went into the break room, put my drink in the fridge, and started digging through the box of leftover donuts the company would buy on Fridays. Most of them were stale and hard. I could bang them against the counter without crumbling them. It was disappointing, but oddly comical. Then it happened. As I turned to leave the break room, I heard the door rattle. Just once at first, a short, sharp jerk. Then again. Then again. 4, maybe 5 times, it tried to pull itself open, budging at least a few inches each time. On the last one, it did. The door swung wide open and hung there for several seconds. The spring was completely stretched out, creaking and stretching like something was holding it there. All I could do was watch as the door stayed completely open on its own, frozen in fear. It defied the laws of physics, and everything I knew went out the window. Then it slammed shut with a crack that echoed through the whole room. I froze. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. The sound didn't just startle me, it terrified me. I ran straight into my boss's office and sat there for 10 minutes, maybe more, trying to steady my breathing. Eventually, I forced myself back into the break room. I had to prove to myself there was a logical explanation. I waved my arms near the door, stomped on the floor, tried to recreate whatever just happened, but nothing. That door wouldn't budge. I tried to shrug it off and get to work. I walked out to the whiteboard where pickers would write down item numbers, picked up my pen, and began writing. The warehouse was completely still. And then, from somewhere to my left, maybe 20 feet away, came a whistle. A clear, sharp, unmistakable wolf whistle. All the blood drained from my face. I felt cold all over. That whistle wasn't random, it was directed at me. I had never been so terrified. I dropped everything and bolted out the door. I wasn't about to go back in there alone. I called my wife, told her what happened, and asked her to drive up and walk through the building with me so I could shut everything down and lock up. There was absolutely no way I was walking back in any part of that building by myself. The lights had to be turned off manually, and that meant walking through long, dark distances even in the middle of the afternoon. I told my boss the next day that I left because I didn't feel safe working alone. Later on, I worked alone in that warehouse plenty of times. Some days were normal. Some weren't, and I ended up abandoning the shift. But nothing, absolutely nothing, ever came close to what happened that Sunday after the 4th of July. It was trying to communicate with me. Because no matter what anyone says, I know what I saw, I know what I heard. And I'll never forget the sound of the whistle.